The laughter hit Ju-won like a second beating. It bounced off the warehouse walls. Wet, ugly, drunk on victory. 12 men in tactical vests doubled over with their hands on their knees, howling, slapping each other on the back, pointing at the great Kong Ju-won on his knees in a pool of his own blood. Look at him. Look at the Korean prince. Marco Beltran was screaming, kicking dust into Ju-won's face. On his knees, in my warehouse, and his useless black wife just standing there like a piece of furniture. The men laughed harder. One of them mimed crying. Another spat at Becky's feet. Becky did not blink. She lifted her eyes, slowly, across the warehouse, and she smiled at one specific man. His clipboard hit the concrete. Welcome to Afrohantail's Besties. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories like this. Did you see that? One of Marco's lieutenants was wiping tears from his eyes. Did you see his face when we kicked the door in? He looked like a little boy who lost his mother in a market. He looked like a little boy who lost his empire in a week. The men roared. Marco circled Ju-won slowly, savoring it. He had waited 4 years for this. 4 years of sitting at small tables while Ju-won sat at large ones. 4 years of being told no by a Korean prince who would not even look at him when he said it. He grabbed Ju-won by the hair and yanked his head up so the whole room could see his face. Look at him. The man who wouldn't shake my hand at the Macau summit. The man who had me thrown out of his own father's funeral. Where are your soldiers now, Ju-won? Where are your accountants? Where is your brother? He let go of Ju-won's hair so violently Ju-won's head snapped down. Your brother won't even pick up the phone. We checked. We had a man dial him from your own line. Voicemail. The men laughed again. And this one. Marco turned, slowly, theatrically, toward Becky. He gestured at her with the back of his hand like she was a piece of furniture in a shop he was thinking of buying. The wife. The pretty black wife. The one he paraded around at every gala because she made the photographers happy. Tell me, Ju-won, did you ever even talk to her? Or did you just keep her quiet and pretty, like a nice painting you hung in the foyer? He kept her stupid, boss. One of the lieutenants shouted. Look at her. She doesn't even know what's happening. Hey, sweetheart. He waved his hand at Becky. Do you understand English? Are we scaring you? Do you want to cry? The men howled. Becky did not move. Becky did not blink. Speak, woman. Marco barked. Beg for him. Cry for him. Throw yourself on him. Do something. Show us you're alive in there. Silence. The laughter began to thin. Just a little. The kind of thinning that happens when men who have been laughing notice that one person in the room has not joined them and has not flinched and has not begged and has not done anything at all except stand very still in a black dress with her hands folded in front of her. Becky's eyes lifted. Slowly. Not to Marco. Past Marco. Across the warehouse. To a tall, thin man standing in the corner with a clipboard in his hands. His name was Reyes. He had been Marco's chief accountant for 3 years. Becky's eyes found his. She held them, and she smiled. A small smile. Quiet. Almost gentle. The clipboard hit the concrete with a clatter that cut through the warehouse like a slap. Every head turned. Reyes, Marco said. The laughter was gone from his voice now. Reyes, what the hell is wrong with you? Reyes opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Becky's eyes dropped back to her own hands. Marco stared at his accountant for a long moment. He shook it off. He turned back to Ju-won. He raised his pistol. He pressed the muzzle against Ju-won's forehead. The metal was cold. Any last words, Mafia King? Ju-won did not look at Marco. Ju-won looked at his wife. Becky's voice cut across the warehouse like a wire pulled tight. Marco. Marco froze. Check Reyes's left jacket pocket. Marco blinked at her. What? His left jacket pocket. Her voice was bored. Calm. Like a woman ordering tea in a restaurant. Now. Before this gets much, much worse for you. Marco's eyes narrowed. The room had gone very quiet. Every soldier had stopped laughing. Every man in the warehouse was looking at the woman in the black dress. Marco turned, slowly, toward Reyes. Search him. Boss. Reyes's voice was thin. Search him. A soldier crossed the warehouse in 3 strides and ripped Reyes's jacket open. From the inside pocket, he pulled out a black burner phone. The phone buzzed in his hand the moment he held it up. A new message. The soldier read the screen. His face changed. "Read it." Marco snapped. "Boss." "Read it out loud." The soldier swallowed. "It says, confirm the kill. Payment released on confirmation. Yamada family." The warehouse went dead silent. The Yamada family was Marco's own backer. The family who had lent him every dollar of the operation that had brought Ju-won to his knees. Marco turned his head, slowly, toward Reyes. "You sold me. Boss, I can. You sold me to my own." Reyes ran. He made it 3 steps. Marco shot him in the back. The body slid across the concrete and stopped against a stack of pallets. Then everything happened at once. Soldiers shouted. Radios crackled. 2 men bolted for the loading bay door. Marco screamed into a phone. "Get me Yamada! Get me Yamada now!" And in the middle of all of it, in the eye of the storm, Becky moved. She crossed the warehouse without hurry. She bent down beside the dead accountant. She picked up the fallen pistol from his hand. She walked to her husband. She raised the pistol. She fired 1 clean shot through the wire binding his wrists. The wire snapped. "Get up," Becky said. "Now." Ju-won got up. She pressed the pistol into his hand. "Side door. Move." "Becky, what?" "Move, Ju-won." They moved. Behind them, Marco was still screaming into the phone, still trying to figure out who had betrayed him, still not yet understanding that the betrayal had been standing in his warehouse the entire time wearing a black dress with her hands folded in front of her. Becky shoved the side door open. A black sedan was already idling in the alley, headlights off, engine running. The driver was a woman Ju-won had never seen before in his life. She nodded at Becky once. Becky nodded back. "In," Becky said. Ju-won got in. The car was moving before the door was fully shut. For a full minute, neither of them spoke. Ju-won sat in the back seat with blood drying on his collar and his hands shaking in a way he could not control. He had not trembled since he was 14 years old. He looked at Becky. She was looking out the window. Her face was the same face it had been all night. Calm. Untouched. "Becky." "Not yet." "Becky. Look at me." She turned. Her eyes were unreadable. "Who are you?" She studied him for a long moment. "Your wife," she said quietly. "That's not what I asked." "I know." "Becky. We are not safe yet, Ju-won. There will be time for questions." "There is no time now." The car turned onto a highway he did not recognize. The driver had not asked for a destination. Becky had not given one. They were just driving smoothly, silently, professionally, like a route that had been planned years ago by people he had never met. Ju-won closed his eyes. The flashback came whether he wanted it or not. 6 months earlier. His office on the 42nd floor. A long glass table. 10 lieutenants flanking him. A $90 million deal on the screen behind him. Ju-won at the head of the table. His suit charcoal, his watch platinum. His voice quiet because he had never in his life had to speak loudly for men to lean in. "The Beltran shipment moves Friday," he said. "I want eyes on every dock." The door opened. Becky walked in. She had never walked into the office before. He had told her, 18 months earlier on the night they married, that the office was not her place. She had nodded once. She had never asked again. But she walked in now, in a long cream coat over a black dress, holding a small folder, her dark skin glowing in the office light, her locks pulled back into a low knot at her neck. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said. "Then don't," Ju-won said. A few of the men chuckled. She came to the table anyway. "I think you should look at the Beltran route again. The timing." "Becky." His voice cut. "Stay in your lane." The room went silent. She held his eyes for 1 full second. Just one. Then she folded her hands in front of her, gave a polite nod, turned, and walked out. She did not slam the door. She closed it gently, like a guest leaving a dinner party. Minho, his oldest lieutenant, the man he called brother, the man who had held the rings at his wedding, laughed. "Pretty women and big opinions, brother." Ju-won had not laughed. He had not defended her either. He had simply continued. The Beltran shipment had been seized 2 days later. 40 million in product. Gone. Ju-won opened his eyes. The car was still moving. Becky was still looking out the window. How long? He said. How long what? How long have you known this was coming? She turned to him. 6 months, she said. I tried to tell you. He could not breathe for a moment. The car drove on. The safe house was nowhere Ju-won knew. A small 2-story stone house behind a high fence in a neighborhood he had never set foot in. The driver entered a code at the gate. The gate slid open. They drove through. Inside, the house was clean, sparse, warm. Tea in the cupboard. Towels on the rack. A first aid kit already open on the kitchen counter. Lived in. Maintained. Ju-won stood in the doorway. Becky. I own 12 safe houses. 12. I committed every address to memory. This is not one of them.
No.
Then whose is it?
Mine.
He stared at her. Sit down, Ju-won. You're bleeding. He did not move.
Sit.
Down. He sat. She took the first aid kit. She pulled a chair close to him. She wet a clean cloth. She tilted his face up with 2 fingers under his chin. Gently, carefully, and began to clean the blood from his lip. Her touch was steady. She did not look at his eyes. She looked at the cut. He looked at her. He had been looking at her for 18 months. He had never, until this moment, seen her. The small scar at the edge of her left eyebrow he had never noticed. The way her hands moved with a precision that was not a wife's precision. It was a soldier's precision. Or a surgeon's. Or both. Who taught you to dress a wound? He said quietly. The same person who taught me everything else. Who is that? She did not answer. She finished the cut. She closed the kit. She stood. There's a bedroom upstairs. Sleep. 3 hours. Becky. 3 hours, Ju-won. After that, we work. She left the kitchen. He did not sleep. He sat at the kitchen table and watched her through the doorway. She was on the phone. She was speaking Korean, English, and a third language he did not recognize coming from her mouth like she had grown up in it. She was giving instructions. She was receiving reports. Names came out of her like she had said them every day of her life. Tiago in Rio. Adiz in Lagos. The quiet one in Seoul. She was not reacting. She was executing. His pride rose in him like a wave. He could not stop it. He took out his phone. He turned it on. He dialed. Min-ho picked up on the second ring. Ju-won. Brother. Where are you? Where? Safe house. Outside the city. Bring men. Bring. In the next room. Becky's voice cut off mid-sentence. She walked into the kitchen. She saw the phone at his ear. Her face went very still. Ju-won, she said quietly. Hang up. He covered the receiver. He is my brother. Hang up the phone. You don't get to. I am telling you. Hang up. Now. And I am not asking. He turned away from her.
Min-ho.
The address is. Becky crossed the kitchen in 2 strides and pulled the phone out of his hand. She ended the call. She dropped the phone on the counter. What the hell are you? Get up. Becky. Get up, Ju-won. Now. We have less than 4 minutes. 4 minutes for what? She was already moving. She had a duffel bag over her shoulder. She had the driver back on a second phone. South exit. 2 minutes. She grabbed his arm. She had never grabbed him before. Not in 18 months, not once, and pulled him toward the back of the house. Min-ho is in the lead vehicle. Ju-won stopped. What? Move, Ju-won. She dragged him through the back, across a small garden, through a hidden gate in the fence he had not noticed, into a second car waiting in a service alley. The driver was a different woman this time. Becky shoved him into the back seat and slammed the door. The car was already moving. 3 seconds later, behind them, the front of the safe house exploded. Ju-won felt the shockwave through the car windows. The whole vehicle rocked. He turned in his seat. Through the back window, he saw black smoke rising over the roofline. He saw 3 black SUVs parked at the front gate. He saw men in tactical gear pouring through the wreckage of the front door. He saw Min-ho stepping out of the lead vehicle, calm as a Sunday morning, scanning the building. Ju-won turned back. He sat very still. He put his hands flat on his knees because if he did not put them somewhere he was going to be sick. Becky did not say I told you so. She did not look at him. She made another phone call. She gave another address. She hung up. The car drove for an hour. They ended up in the back of a closed laundry. The sign out front was faded. The dust on the windows was real. But the back room had clean walls, 3 monitors, 2 beds, a kitchenette, and a steel door that locked from the inside. Becky locked it. She set the duffel bag down. She sat on the edge of one of the beds. For the first time all night, her shoulders dropped. Just slightly. Just enough that, if you had been watching her for 18 months and had only just learned how to actually see her, you would notice. Becky. She did not look up.
Minho.
Yes. My brother. Yes. How long? She lifted her eyes. Years, Ju-won. How many? 6. The word landed in the room like a stone in still water. 6. He repeated. 6. That is longer than you have known me. Yes. He sat down on the edge of the other bed. He put his face in his hands. Then he pulled his hands away and looked at her. You let my men die tonight. I let traitors reveal themselves. My men, Becky. Your traitors, Ju-won. Your loyal men are alive. Count them. When you are ready, you will find that not one man who ever truly stood with you is in the ground tonight. Only the ones who were going to put you there. You orchestrated this. Yes. All of it. All of it. The accounts. The allies. The safe houses.
Marco.
The warehouse. Tonight. You let me get on my knees in that warehouse. I did not let it. I planned it. He laughed. It was not a real laugh. It was the sound of a man trying to find air in a room with no windows. And my brother.
Minho.
The man who held the rings at our wedding. Yes. You placed him. 6 years ago. 2 years before I met you. As insurance. So that when the time came, I would have a hand inside your house already. By who? She held his eyes. By me, she said. He stood up. He had nowhere to go. The room was small. The door was locked from the inside. His wife was sitting on a bed in the back of a laundry telling him that she had been planning his collapse before he had ever known her face. What was I to you? He said. She did not answer. Becky, what was I to you? When you walked down the aisle. When you took my name. When you slept beside me. What was I to you? She stood. I will tell you, she said. But not in this room. Not at this table.
Come.
She unlocked the steel door. She climbed a narrow staircase up to the roof. The morning was cold. The city stretched out gray and indifferent. She walked to the edge. He came to stand beside her. My father was a fisherman, she said. In Lagos. My mother was a teacher. I had 2 younger brothers. I was 11 years old when a man named Domingo came to our village. He was looking for girls who were quiet. Girls who watched. He found me at the market. He saw me notice a man cheating my father at a scale. He came to my father that night with money. My father refused. Domingo killed my father. He killed my mother. He killed my brothers. He took me with him. Ju-won did not breathe. He raised me for 14 years, she said. He fed me. He clothed me. He sent me to schools in 3 countries. He taught me 4 languages. He taught me how to wait, how to disappear inside a moment, how to make myself small until I was needed. He told me that my skin would be my armor, because every man would look at me and see something less than I was, and that this was the greatest gift I would ever be given. On my 25th birthday, he gave me my final test. To kill an 8-year-old girl, the daughter of a man who had crossed him, as proof that I belonged to him completely. Did you?
No.
I took the girl. I delivered her to a family in another country who could keep her safe. I told Domingo I had completed the task. He believed me for almost a year. When he discovered the truth, he sent men to find me. I killed them. I disappeared. I built a network of my own, quietly over years, made entirely of people Domingo had thrown away, people he had overlooked, people he had taught me to be invisible to. I built my parallel empire underneath his. And then, 4 years ago, I was given an assignment, To marry the heir of a Korean syndicate that had taken contracts from Domingo for 2 decades. The Kong family. Your family. To marry that heir. Learn the operation. Dismantle it from the inside. And use its collapse as the lever to finally break Domingo. I was the assignment. You were the assignment. He laughed once. Bitterly. And Min-ho was the insurance. Yes. And you came into my life prepared to destroy me. Yes. And you slept beside me for 18 months knowing this. Yes. He looked at her. He was waiting for the rage. The rage that had built his empire. The rage that had made grown men whisper his name. It did not come. Then why, he said, are we standing on this roof? She turned to him. Because somewhere in those 18 months, she said quietly, you stopped being the assignment. Her voice had gone smaller. Not soft. Smaller. Like she was afraid the words would fall too loudly. I do not know when it happened, she said. There is no moment. There is only the slow, terrible arrival of it. I would watch you sleep and I would feel something. I would hear you laugh on a phone call with your sister and I would feel something. I would lie in our bed and rehearse the day I would dismantle everything you had built, and then I would turn over and look at your face and I would not be able to breathe for a moment. I told myself it was a weakness. I told myself I would crush it. I did not crush it. It grew. He took one step toward her. She lifted a hand. Palm out. Don't, she said. Not yet. I have not earned it. He looked at her for a long moment. Then we finish it first, he said. Then we finish it first. They went back down the stairs. The work began that morning. I want eyes on Min-ho, Becky said into the phone. I want to know where he eats. I want to know who he calls. I want to know the moment he steps onto a plane. Yes, ma'am, the voice said. She hung up. Ju-won. Yes.
Singapore.
The banking route through DBS. You used it for the park transfer last year. How do you know about the park? Ju-won. Yes, I used it. It is compromised. Min-ho fed it to a buyer in Hong Kong 4 months ago. We need a new route by tomorrow. He sat down across from her. I have a contact. An old one. From before my father died. I have not used him in 8 years. Min-ho doesn't know about him. She looked at him. Actually looked at him. For maybe the second time in their entire marriage. Tell me about him. He told her. She listened. She asked 2 questions. She nodded once. Use him. It was the first time in 18 months a suggestion of his to her had not been followed by silence. He felt it land in his chest like a small stone dropped into a deep well. By dawn of the second day, Marco Beltran's accounts were frozen. Not by any government, but because a small holding company in Mauritius that no one had ever heard of had quietly bought every dollar of Marco's debt and called it in all at once. By the morning of the third day, 2 of the rival factions that had circled Ju-won the week before suddenly turned on each other when intelligence appeared in both their hands suggesting the other had been the leak. By the 4th day, Ju-won was watching his wife rebuild his empire with hands he had spent 18 months refusing to look at. He brought her tea. She blinked when he set it down. She had not asked for it. You take it with 1 sugar, he said. And the milk in last. She looked up at him. Her eyes did something he did not have a word for. You learned, she said quietly. 18 months late. Better late than not. He sat down across from her. Becky. Yes. On the roof. You said somewhere in those 18 months I stopped being the assignment. Yes. When did you stop being the assignment to yourself? She went very still. She set the tea down. She did not answer for a long time. I will tell you, she finally said. When this is over. All right. All right. I can wait, Becky. She looked at him. You finally learned that too, she said. The phone on the desk rang. It was the voice from the morning before. The one watching Min-ho.
Mum.
Yes. He just stepped onto a plane. To where? To us. Becky's eyes lifted slowly to her husband. He is coming. I know. He is coming to finish what he started in the warehouse. I know. Ju-won. Yes. Are you ready to bury your brother? He held her gaze. He stopped being my brother, he said. The moment he sent 3 vehicles to the safe house you built. She nodded once. She picked up the phone. Bring him to me alive, she said into it. I want to look at him. She hung up. She turned back to her husband. Then, she said, we are going to take everything from the man who sent him. They brought Min-ho to her at 3 in the morning. 2 of Becky's men carried him through the back door of the laundry, hooded, wrists bound, his expensive shoes dragging across the concrete. They sat him in a metal chair in the center of the back room. They pulled the hood off. Min-ho blinked against the light. His left eye was already swelling. His lip was split. He looked up. He saw Ju-won standing against the wall with his arms folded. He saw Becky sitting at the desk behind him, perfectly still.
Min-ho smiled.
The smile was cracked and bloody. Brother, he said. Brother, listen. Whatever she told you. She showed me photographs. Photographs can be. She showed me 6 years of photographs, Min-ho. The smile faded. Macau, Ju-won said. 2 years ago. The hotel. The man across the table from you. Who was he? Brother. Who was he, Min-ho? Min-ho closed his eyes. He was hers, Min-ho said quietly. And the parking garage in Busan. The woman in the gray coat. Who was she? Hers. And the night you stood outside my mother's house. On the phone. Looking at her front door. Min-ho did not answer. Ju-won pushed off the wall. He walked across the room. He crouched in front of the chair so that he was eye level with the man he had called brother for 15 years. He looked at him for a long moment. Why? He said. Min-ho was silent. Why, Min-ho? Just tell me. I want to hear it from your mouth before I decide what to do with the rest of you. Min-ho lifted his eyes. Because she paid better. That's not the answer. It's part of it. Then tell me the rest. Min-ho looked at him for a long, tired moment. Then he laughed once, and the laugh was small and sour. Because you never noticed me, brother. Not really. Not the way a brother should. I stood beside you for 15 years and you never once asked me what I wanted. You assumed I wanted what you wanted. I did not. I wanted my own name. I wanted to walk into a room and have a man stand because I walked in. Not because I was beside you. She offered me that. She offered me a life where I would not always be the second chair. And I took it. And I would take it again. Ju-won looked at him. He thought about every dinner, every operation, every time he had clapped Min-ho on the shoulder without looking at his face. Every time Min-ho had spoken at a meeting and Ju-won had finished the sentence for him because he assumed he knew what Min-ho was going to say. He thought about the way he had assumed. He stood up. You will not be killed, he said. Min-ho's eyes flickered. You will be sent away. You will keep your life. You will not keep your name. You will not keep your money. You will not keep your face. There is a man in Bangkok who owes me a favor and who is very good with bone. When he is finished with you, your own mother will not know you on the street. After that, you will go to a country I will choose. You will stay there. You will not contact anyone. If I see you again in this country or any other, you will not see me coming. Do you understand me, Min-ho? Min-ho closed his eyes. He did not speak for a long moment. Yes, he said. I understand. Ju-won turned. He walked to the door. He stopped.
Min-ho.
Yes, you were right. I never asked. I am sorry for that. It does not change what is going to happen to you. But you were right. He walked out. Becky was still at the desk when he came back into the front of the back room. She had heard everything. She did not look up from the laptop. She did not say anything for a long moment. Ju-won. Yes. That was hard. Yes. You did not have to spare him. I know. Why did you? He sat down across from her. He took a long breath. Because the man who would have killed him, he said, is the man you were sent here to dismantle. And he is dismantled now. She looked at him. She looked at him for a long time. Her face did not change. But something behind her eyes did. Come here, she said quietly. What? Come here, Ju-won. He came around the desk. She stood. She lifted her hand. She did not touch his face. She held her hand close to it, an inch away from his cheek, like a woman testing whether she was allowed to. You are not the man who walked into that warehouse, she said.
No.
You are not even the man who got into the car.
No.
Good, she said. She lowered her hand. She sat back down. She turned the laptop toward him. Now, she said, look at this. We are about to take everything from the men who laughed at you. The screen showed a map of the city. There were 47 red pins on it. What am I looking at? He said. My empire. He looked at her. You said you had a network. You said it was quiet. You did not say it was. 47 properties, Jew 1. 3 banks. 2 private security firms. A shipping company in Rotterdam. A construction firm in Lagos. A media holding company in Seoul that owns 2 newspapers and a cable channel. 1,100 soldiers across 9 countries. The men you saw at the safe house driving the cars are the lowest tier of what I built. I did not build it loudly. I built it underneath. I built it in places men like Domingo and men like you did not look. Cleaning companies, catering services, florists, hotel staff, the people who pour your drinks at galas, the people who park your cars at restaurants, the people who deliver your dry cleaning. I built it from the people you stopped seeing the moment you turned 18 and put on your first expensive suit. He could not speak. She turned the laptop back. She typed. And tonight, she said, we are going to use it. The takedowns began at 4 in the morning. Marco Beltran's wife woke up to find his accounts emptied. Not just frozen. Emptied. Every dollar moved through 14 jurisdictions in under 9 minutes by a team Becky had on standby in 3 time zones. Marco's 2 private planes were impounded at the airport before sunrise on a tip from the Yamada family's own internal compliance officer, who happened to owe a woman in Tokyo a very old and very specific favor. By 6 in the morning, Marco's name was on the front page of 3 newspapers in connection with an embezzlement scandal that had not existed 24 hours earlier and whose paper trail went back 4 years. By 7, the rival factions who had circled Ju-won in his weakest week, the ones who had taken Marco's calls, who had refused to pick up Ju-won's, who had whispered in their own boardrooms that the Korean prince was finished, woke up to discover that their enemies had received intelligence packages overnight. Names, dates, routes, photographs, each package suggesting the other faction had been the leak that brought Ju-won down. By 9 in the morning, 2 of those factions had opened fire on each other in a parking garage downtown. By 10, 3 of them were in police custody. By noon, Marco Beltran was on a plane out of the country with his shirt unbuttoned and his hair wild, trying to reach a Yamada cousin who would not pick up the phone. Ju-won watched it happen from the back room of the laundry. He watched his wife conduct it the way a maestro conducts an orchestra. She did not raise her voice once. She did not look at him for permission. She moved through it like a woman who had been moving through it her whole life. Ju-won. Yes. Hong Kong call. Your contact. The one Min-ho doesn't know about. He picked up the phone. He spoke quietly for 2 minutes in Korean. He hung up. Done. She nodded. She moved to the next pin. He watched her work and felt something settle in his chest that had not settled in 18 months. It was not pride. It was something quieter. It was the feeling of a man who had been carrying a heavy thing alone for a long time, finally setting it down, and discovering that the woman beside him had been carrying a much heavier thing the whole time, alone, without complaint, and had been waiting for him to grow up enough to help her with it. He sat down beside her. He did not interrupt. He waited until she finished a call. He set a cup of tea down by her hand. 1 sugar, he said. Milk last. She looked at the cup. She looked at him. She did not say anything. She picked it up. She drank. By the morning of the 7th day, the rebuilding was visibly underway. Becky's Holdings had absorbed 3 of Ju-won's frozen accounts through a series of legal mergers that took place in offices Ju-won had never set foot in. The new entity quietly, almost invisibly, held more capital than the original Kong organization had at its peak. The remaining loyal lieutenants, the ones who had survived the purge because Becky had let them survive, were summoned one by one to a small conference room above a restaurant Ju-won did not know his wife owned. The first lieutenant who came was a man named Hyun-woo. He had stood beside Ju-won at the boardroom meeting 6 months earlier. He had been one of the men who had laughed when Ju-won had told Becky to stay in her lane. Hyun-woo walked into the conference room. He saw Ju-won standing by the window. He bowed deeply. He turned. He saw Becky sitting at the head of the table. He froze. This is... Hyun-woo started. Sit down, Becky said. Hyun-woo did not sit down. Boss, he said to Ju-won. What is? Sit down, Hyun-woo, Ju-won said quietly. When she tells you to sit down, you sit down. Hyun-woo sat. Becky did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Hyun-woo, you laughed at me in a boardroom 6 months ago. He went pale. Mom, You laughed when my husband told me to stay in my lane. You laughed loudly. I heard you through the door. I remember the sound of your laugh specifically. I have been remembering it for 6 months.
Mom, I'm so sorry.
I am not asking for an apology. I am telling you that I remember. I am telling you so that you know, when you look at me from this day forward, that I know what you sounded like when you thought I was not listening. You are going to do 3 things for me, Hyun-woo. You are going to take charge of the Busan operation. You are going to triple its output by the end of the year. And every Friday evening at 6 p.m., you are going to call this office and you are going to give me a report. You will call me ma'am. You will not call me Mrs. Kong. You will not call me boss's wife. You will call me ma'am. Do you understand me? Yes, ma'am. Stand up. He stood. Look at me. He looked. Bow. He bowed. Deep. Lower than he had bowed for Ju-won at the door. He held it for a long second. He straightened. He left. Ju-won watched him go. He turned to Becky. Becky. Yes. That was the first one. Yes. There are 9 more. There were 9 more. She brought them in one by one across the day. Each one walked through the door expecting Ju-won. Each one found Becky at the head of the table. Each one stiffened. Each one was told, calmly and specifically, what they had said about her or what they had laughed at 6 months ago. A year ago, 2 years ago. None of them had known she had heard. None of them had known she had remembered. By the 8th lieutenant, the news had spread through the building, and the 9th man came in already pale, already preparing his bow. Ju-won stood by the window and watched it happen. He did not speak. He did not need to. There was nothing for him to say. The room was hers. The men were hers. The empire that was forming in the wake of his fall belonged, fully and visibly, to the woman he had married 18 months ago and had never once seen. When the last lieutenant left, Becky finally let her shoulders drop. Just slightly. She turned her chair to look at her husband. Ju-won. Yes. I have one more name on the list. Whose?
Minho's replacement.
The man who will now sit in the 2nd chair of this organization. Beside you. Beside me. Who is it? She looked at him for a long moment. It is you, she said. He blinked. What? You are going to take the 2nd chair. Becky. The 2nd chair is... It is the 2nd chair. Yes. And you? I will take the 1st. He looked at her. He laughed once. It was not bitter. It was something closer to wonder. You are going to make me your lieutenant. I am going to make you my partner. The 2nd chair is the partner's chair, Ju-won.
Minho's chair.
The one beside the head. The one that no man takes unless the head trusts him with everything. And you trust me with everything. I am beginning to. After what you have become in 9 days. Yes. He sat down across from her. He looked at his hands. He looked at her. All right, he said. All right. I will take the 2nd chair. For now. He smiled. Just a little. For now. She did not smile back. But something in her face softened in a way he had never seen. The phone on the desk rang. She picked it up. She listened. Her face went very still. Ju-won. Yes. Domingo is in the country. He was already standing. Where? He flew in this afternoon under a name I built for him 15 years ago and never told anyone existed. He is using it because he wants me to know. He wants me to see him coming. He wants to draw you out. He wants to finish me. He has wanted to finish me for 15 years. He raised a weapon and the weapon turned on him. He will not rest until the weapon is broken or until he is dead. Then we kill him. She looked at her husband. There was something in her eyes that he had not seen before. Not fear. Becky did not, he was beginning to understand, do fear. It was the look of a woman about to walk into the room she had been walking toward for 15 years. He will use words first, she said. He always uses words first. He is very good with them. He will try to break me with words before he tries to break me with anything else. You should know that. You should be ready for it. I am ready. He will say things about me. I am ready. He will say things about you. I am ready, Becky. She looked at him. You may not be ready for what he says about us. There is nothing he can say about us that will move me. She studied him. She nodded once. Then we go meet him. The meeting was held in a half-built office tower on the edge of the city. Domingo had chosen it. He had always loved unfinished places. Becky walked in first. Ju-won walked half a step behind her. Behind them, 12 men, 6 of his loyal, 6 of hers, moved into position around the perimeter. The floor they walked onto was a concrete shell. No walls, no glass. The wind moved through it. The city below was lit up like something that had no idea what was happening above it. Domingo was waiting in the center of the floor. He was a small man, smaller than Ju-won had expected. White-haired, soft-faced. He looked like someone's grandfather. He looked like a man who would buy a child an ice cream. He smiled when he saw Becky. The smile did not reach any part of his eyes. My girl, he said. Becky did not respond. My quiet girl. My patient girl. My sharpest, longest investment. Look at you. Look at what I made. You did not make me. Oh, but I did, my girl. Every line of you. Every silence. Every smile that drops a clipboard across a warehouse. I made all of it. I sharpened all of it. You took me, Becky said. There is a difference. A man who takes a thing does not make a thing. A man who takes a thing only learns what someone else built. Domingo's smile flickered. His eyes moved to Ju-won. And the husband. The Korean prince. The assignment. He laughed once. Tell me, prince. Did she tell you what you were? Did she tell you the file I keep on you? Did she tell you that she could draw the floor plan of your childhood home from memory before she ever set foot in your country? She told me everything. Did she tell you what she is, prince? Did she tell you what I made? You think you are standing next to a wife. You are standing next to a knife. A knife I sharpened for 14 years. A knife that turned on its maker, yes, but a knife is still a knife, prince. Look at her. Look at what she has done to you. Your empire is rubble. Your brother is in a cage. Your name is a joke in 3 cities. And you are standing here beside her like a dog that has learned to love its leash. You think she loves you? She does not love. I made certain of it. I pulled the love out of her when she was 11 years old. What you see is the absence. What you mistake for tenderness is the shape that absence makes. Becky's face did not change. But Ju-won saw, because he had finally learned to see, that her hand at her side had curled into a fist. Just slightly. Just enough. He stepped forward. You are wrong, he said quietly. Domingo turned to him with delight. Am I, prince? You are wrong about her. You are wrong about what you made. And you are wrong about what is standing here. You did not make her. You tried. You failed. The girl you took at 11 walked away from you at 25 and built a life you could not have imagined her capable of. And the proof of your failure is that you have spent 15 years hunting her instead of living. You did not pull the love out of her. She kept it. She kept it from you. That is the worst thing you ever did. Isn't it? You raised a child who was capable of hiding her own heart from you for 14 years, in your own house, at your own table. You looked at her every day and you did not see it. And now she is standing in front of you with it intact. And you cannot stand it. Because it means you were never the architect. She was, from the beginning, even of herself. Domingo's smile finally broke. He reached for the gun at his hip. He was not fast enough. Ju-won shot him once, cleanly, through the heart. Domingo crumpled to the concrete without a sound. The wind moved across the unfinished floor. The city below kept being a city. The 12 men around the perimeter did not move because they did not need to. It was already done. Becky stood very still. She looked at the body. She looked at her husband. She looked at the body again. She did not cry. He did not expect her to. But she let out a single long breath, the breath of a woman who had been holding it for 15 years, and her shoulders dropped in a way he had only seen once before, asleep at a desk in the back of a closed laundry, with his coat over her. It is done, he said. It is done. He did not touch her. He had learned in 9 days when not to touch her. She turned to him. Ju-won. Yes. There is one more thing. Tell me. The collapse, the whole of it, was not only about Domingo, was not only about exposing the rot in your house. It was also about you. I know. You know. I have known since the roof. You did not need to say it. You changed the plan because the plan required a man you could rule beside. You needed to know if I could become him. You did not test my love for you. You tested whether I could survive losing everything and still find myself. And whether the self I found would be a man worth standing next to. That is what you were doing. That is what these months were. She looked at him for a very long time. Yes, she said. And. She did not finish the sentence. He waited. She did not finish it. He understood that she would not finish it tonight. That some sentences had to be earned over more than a single confrontation on a concrete floor with a dead man cooling at their feet. He understood that this was the cost of what she had carried alone for 15 years. He understood that he would have to be patient now. He nodded once. Then we go home, he said. We go home. 3 weeks later, the boardroom on the 42nd floor was full again. Not as full as it had been. Many chairs were empty. Many names had been removed. But the men who remained were the men who had survived the fire, and the men who had survived the fire had learned how to bow. Ju-won walked in. They stood. He had not asked them to. They had simply learned. Then Becky walked in half a step behind him. Every man at that table, the lieutenants who had laughed at her, the lieutenants who had called her decoration, the lieutenants who had spoken about her in terms they would now spend the rest of their lives trying not to think about, every single one of them stood again. None of them had been told to. They had simply learned, in the 3 weeks since their interviews in the conference room above the restaurant, what was now expected of them. She gestured. They sat. Ju-won walked to the head of the long glass table. The chair at the head was the chair he had sat in for 6 years. The chair his father had sat in before him. The chair his grandfather had sat in before that. He stood in front of it. He did not sit. You have all been asking, he said quietly. Who rebuilt this empire? The room was silent. You have heard rumors. You have heard names. You have heard impossible stories about a hidden network and a parallel operation and a strategist who moved through this house for 18 months without any of you noticing. I am here to tell you that the rumors are not rumors. The names are correct. The stories are true. And the strategist is in this room. He stepped aside from the chair. He pulled it out. It was not me, he said. It was never me. It was her. From the beginning. From before any of you knew her name. He looked at his wife. It is her chair, he said. Becky walked to the head of the table. She did it without hurry. She wore a simple black dress. Flat shoes. No jewelry. The same way she had been dressed in the warehouse the night she had smiled at a stranger and made the stranger drop a clipboard. She sat. The room exhaled. Then, one by one, every man at that table, the men who had laughed in boardrooms, the men who had told their wives over dinner that the boss had married a piece of art, every one of them rose on their feet and bowed. Deeply. They held the bow. They did not straighten until she gestured for them to. She gestured. They straightened. Ju-won took the second chair. The chair beside the head. She began to speak. She spoke for 40 minutes. She laid out the new structure. She named the men who would run each region. She named the men who would not. She did not raise her voice once. When she finished, no one moved. The men at the table waited until she rose. They rose with her. She left the room. Ju-won followed half a step behind. In the elevator, she finally looked at him. She did not say anything. She took his hand. He held it. The elevator descended. That night, on the small balcony off their bedroom, Becky stood in the dark with a cup of tea in her hand. She was wearing the same simple black dress she had worn the night Marco had brought Ju-won to his knees. He understood, looking at her, that she had been wearing it on purpose. As a marker, as an end of something. He came to stand beside her. Was I ever part of your plan? He asked quietly. Or just another move? She did not turn to him immediately. When she did, her eyes were wet, not crying. Wet. The kind of wet a woman's eyes get when she has been trying for 15 years not to cry and is finally allowed to stop trying. You were the only part of it, she said, that I could not control. The only part one did not want to. He took her hand. She let him. If you let me stay, he said, it will not be the same. I will not be the same. I am not the same. I know. I will earn it. I know. Every day. I know, Ju-won. He brought her hand up to his mouth. He pressed his lips to her knuckles. He had never done that before. Not in 18 months. Not at their wedding. Not on any of the nights he had reached for her without seeing her. He did it now, and he did it slowly, and he kept his eyes open and on hers the whole time. You finally learned, she said. You finally let me. She set down the tea. She turned fully to him. She placed her free hand against his chest, over his heart, and held it there for a long moment, like a woman testing whether something inside a man was steady enough to be trusted with what she was about to say. Ju-won. Yes. On the roof. You asked me when I stopped being the assignment to myself. Yes. I told you I would tell you when this was over. Yes. It is over. He waited. The day I changed the plan, she said quietly. The day I sat at my desk in a city you did not know I was in, with a folder open in front of me, looking at a photograph of you laughing on a phone call with your sister. I had been planning your collapse for 2 years at that point. The plan was complete. The plan was beautiful. The plan ended with me walking out of the rubble alone. And I was looking at the photograph of you laughing, and I realized I could not finish the plan as it was written. I sat at that desk for 6 hours, Ju-won. 6 hours. And when I stood up, I had rewritten every page. Every page. Because the plan I could finish was not the plan that ended with me alone. The plan I could finish was the plan that ended with you beside me. If you could become the man who could stand there. And I did not know if you could. I did not know for 2 more years. I did not know until you put down the phone in the warehouse parking lot the morning Minho came for us. And you looked at me and you said I am ready. That is when I knew. Becky. Yes. I love you. She closed her eyes. She opened them. I have loved you, she said. Since the day I rewrote the plan. He pulled her against him. He held her. She let her forehead rest against his shoulder. He felt her breathe out. A long, slow, 15-year breath. And he felt something in her come loose that had been wound tight for longer than he had been alive in her life. He held her on the balcony for a long time. Below them, the city kept being a city. The empire, her empire, kept being an empire. The men who had laughed in warehouses and boardrooms kept learning. In the quiet way men learn these things, who they now answered to. She lifted her head. She looked at him. Tomorrow, she said. We go to work. Tomorrow, he said. We go to work. She took his hand. They walked back inside together. At sunrise the next morning, Kang Ju-won and Becky Kang walked out of the front of their building side by side. The car was waiting. The driver opened the door. Becky got in first. Ju-won got in beside her. She took the seat on the right. He took the seat on the left. The car pulled into traffic. The city woke around them, indifferent and beautiful and wholly unaware that the woman in the back seat, the quiet wife, the useless black wife, the piece of furniture they had laughed at in a warehouse 3 weeks earlier, now held in her small steady hands every thread of the empire that had once mocked her. She turned to her husband. He was already looking at her. She smiled. Small, quiet, almost gentle. The same smile she had given a stranger in a warehouse to make him drop a clipboard. This time it was for him. There are 2 lessons in this story, besties. The first is for every woman who has ever been told to stay in her lane. The world will measure you by what it can see, your skin, your softness, your silence, and it will decide you are less than you are. Let it. Let them mock. Let them laugh. Let them call you decoration. Because the woman who is underestimated is the woman who is free to build. And what you build in the quiet, while they laugh in the loud, will one day make every one of them stand when you walk into the room. The second is for every man who has ever silenced the woman beside him. The greatest weapon you will ever have in this life is not your power, your money, or your name. It is the woman who stands beside you when the world has stripped you of all 3. Listen to her the first time, not the second, not the third. The first, because the man who learns to see his wife only after the world has brought him to his knees is the man who almost lost her forever. Thank you besties for sticking till the end. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more amazing stories like this.